If you're moving to the West Houston area and are completely overwhelmed by choice, I get it. Houston is home to over 8 million people across a 9-county area that spans nearly 60 miles end to end. That's bigger than Connecticut, Delaware, Rhode Island, which is wild, right? Well, someone probably clued you into the West Side, and chances are if you're moving out here, you're considering homes in Katy, Fulshear, or Cypress, and probably because of the great neighborhoods, schools, and lifestyle that you can expect to have. In today's video, I'm going to share some places that I personally would choose to live, and this is as a native Houstonian and as a career real estate professional. I'm going to give you some information that's a little harder to Google and the stuff that I would share with a friend. Hi, I'm Carolyn Bauerschlag, a local real estate agent helping people just like you relocate from all over the country right to our great city. And if you're considering making a move to West Houston, make sure to reach out with the contact information listed below. I would love to add you to our client family. So let's start with Katy. Now, I'm going to tell you that I am biased because I was born and raised in Katy, and then as a full-grown adult, chose to move right back out here. So all of this is coming through a lifetime of personal biases, but here we go. So the first place I would move is actually where I live, which is Cinco Ranch. Now, Cinco is the gold standard of the Katy area, right? It is one of the very largest master plan communities in the entire state of Texas. And it is the one off of which many people have modeled their master plan communities. So Cinco Ranch is 15,000 homes wide, and it kind of splits the difference between east and west of the Grand Parkway, which is the north-south corridor that connects I-10 to 1093. So the location couldn't be more prime. In Cinco Ranch, you're going to have 11 water park style pools. You're going to have over 90 pocket parks. You're going to have hundreds of miles of interconnected trails that's both the property of Cinco and in connection with Harris and Fort Bend County trail systems. It's expansive with the green spaces that they've reserved so that you can look at nature in and around you. And just the thought behind how each section looks is really visually very appealing. Now, it's not just limited to the neighborhood itself. Cinco worked in conjunction with Katy ISD to make sure that schools are actually planted along major roadways, but also inside the little pockets of the neighborhood. So you can kind of get this idyllic feel in many of the little pocket neighborhoods of Cinco, where you can get on a bicycle and actually ride to school if that's something that you want to do. Now, every single school within Cinco Ranch is going to be Katy ISD. That's not something that you have to worry about like you do as you go further west, but that is something that folks like to always know. Another major great thing about Cinco is that we have La Centera. So La Centera is the dining and retail hub, I would say, of South Katy, and that's smack in the middle of Cinco Ranch. So if you want to go out to dinner, if you want to go shop, if you want to enjoy a drink at a bar, it's all very centrally located. We also have the Cinco Ranch Public Library that's right there. There's the Cinco Ranch Golf Course. Literally everything is right there in your back pocket. We, of course, then have a few H-E-Bs. We have a Trader Joe's. We have a Whole Foods. We have every Kroger. If you want a certain type of food, it is literally right there. Another great thing about Cinco Ranch is if you are interested in a 55 and up community, you can be a part of Cinco and live in Heritage Grand. Heritage Grand is reserved for folks where at least one person is the age of 55 or older. And they do have a lot of their own private use amenities just for the seniors. Now, the next neighborhood that I might consider living in Katy is going to be Seven Meadows. Seven Meadows is another master plan community built around a golf course. Now, this neighborhood is decidedly smaller than Cinco Ranch. It's limited to just a few thousand homes. And really, it was developed over a very short period of time. Most of the homes are going to be at the oldest 20 years old, but at the newest kind of 15, 14-ish years old. So the build out in Seven Meadows really wasn't that long. Now, Seven Meadows has become extraordinarily popular because it is zoned exclusively to Holland Elementary, which is highly rated, Beckendorf Junior High, which is a bike ride away, and Seven Lakes High School. Now, Seven Lakes High School is the one that gets all the press. I don't see a scenario ever where Seven Meadows is rezoned. In fact, Seven Lakes High School is named that way because it serves Seven Meadows neighborhood and Grand Lakes neighborhood. So I don't really see that getting rezoned. And I think that kind of evergreen appeal is what's drawn people so heavily to that neighborhood. Another major factor that people love about Seven Meadows is that the tax rate is one of the lowest in the Katy area. It's right at about 2% right now, with it going lower almost every year. So if you want a big bang for your buck as far as property taxes go, Seven Meadows is going to be an attractive option for you. Keep in mind, though, that nothing is free. So the home prices in Seven Meadows are also some of the most expensive in the South Katy area. It's worth noting that Seven Meadows does butt up directly into Cinco Ranch, so you do also have easy access to La Centera, the public libraries. 1093 is going to be your major corridor for getting in and out of the area, and it also has easy access to the Grand Parkway. If you need to get to I-10 routinely every single day, I would say Seven Meadows is going to be a traffic-y sort of place for you to live. Now, another community that I would personally consider living in Katy, Texas, is going to be Firethorne. Now, Firethorne is a neighborhood that kind of got off to a slow start, but it wasn't really their fault. It started building right in the crash of 2007-ish into 2008. So some of the earliest homes in Firethorne are just now 20 years old, kind of built right before the market crashed. And then Houston got hit with another oil crisis kind of right after that post-recovery period as well. So Firethorne was off to kind of a sleepier start. It is also very far west, but it's on the I-10 corridor. So if you need to get in and out of I-10 quickly, Firethorne would be a great place for you to go. Now, it's funny to me because sometimes people will say, well, I don't want to live in Firethorne because it's zoned to Katy High School. Now, for as many people that say that, there's just as many people that say the reason I want to live in Firethorne is because it's zoned to Katy High School. Now, what I love about this community in particular is that it has great Katy schools, it has easy access to I-10, and it has a low tax rate. So across these 3,400 homes, you've got a tax rate that's at about 2.25%, making it one of the second lowest places to live from a property tax perspective south of I-10. Who doesn't love that? Right. So there's also a little something for everyone in Firethorne. Home prices range anywhere from 300-ish, middle of the 300,000s, all the way up to over $1 million. A big fat asterisk that I want to put on Firethorne is if you are conducting a search and school district matters to you, there is a portion of Firethorne that is zoned to Lamar Consolidated. So if you want help sorting that, reach out to your friendly neighborhood realtor so that we can get you to the school that you want to go to. And the last place that I might consider living in Katy, if I were moving here from someone with no context, would be Cane Island. Now, Cane Island is kind of a wild card, some might say, for why it's my favorite, but I'll tell you why. The community was developed beautifully. Now, this community sits on the north side of I-10. It is at the Cane Island exit, which is notably famous for its Buc-ee's exit. So Cane Island is kind of one of what feels like the farthest west reaching outposts of the Katy ISD territory. But if you are going to be in a beautiful master plan community, this has easy access to I-10. You're not buried in the North Katy side where it's very hard for you to get to the Grand Parkway or to I-10. So Cane Island has about 2,200 homes. It was built from about 2015 and really kind of closed out at the end of 2025. And it's a gorgeous community with high-end builders like Perry, David Weekley, Highland Homes. They've got some Shea, Coventry, Toll Brothers, and the price ranges are wide and varied. They've got homes that are built for $300,000-ish, like middle of the threes, all the way up to over $2 million. So there's a little bit of something for everyone. Cane Island was smart. They built out a beautiful amenities village at the very beginning of their development process, and I think that's what created the attractiveness to that neighborhood and that area over time. Another thing that I really like about Cane Island is that the neighborhood has Robertson Elementary right smack in the middle of it, so you can get on your bicycle and have that idyllic sort of before and after school experience with your children if you want to. Another thing that's not really talked about, it's kind of not easy to Google, is that the individual sections of these neighborhoods is also very small. So you'll get to know your neighbors. It doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't just feel like rows and rows and houses. There's actual community involved in each one of these little pockets. Now, on the con side of Cane Island, I would say it is expensive to live there. When I say 300,000 to get your foot in the door, I'm talking like 375, 385. And then the tax rate is 2.9. Now, that sounds very high, but it has come down over time. The tax rate used to be about 3.65, 3.7 right when this neighborhood opened. So in 10 years, it's come down a good chunk. I would suspect in the next 10, it will still come down. But if property taxes are something that you really don't want to have to deal with, it is going to be a higher burden in Cane Island. I have a soft spot for this place. I've put tons of friends and family out in this area, including my own parents. So I am high on Cane Island. Now, if I were to move to Cypress, the most obvious place that I think anyone might start is going to be the crown jewel of the area called Bridgeland. Bridgeland is the largest master plan community that we have on the Western corridor, and at completion, it will have somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000 homes. Now, Bridgeland construction started sometime around 2006-ish. And the build out is ongoing. Now, it's important to note that almost 100% of everything in Bridgeland that's going to be zoned to Cypher ISD is functionally complete. There's some stragglers here and there that aren't quite done, but if you want to go to Bridgeland High School, you need to mostly be on the inside or the east side of the Grand Parkway for that to work out in your favor. Now, Waller County is on the other side of the Grand Parkway, and a lot of that is going to be zoned to the Waller ISD schools. Waller is the most explosive growth county in the greater Houston area. They've got a lot of catching up to do. Now, Bridgeland is great because they're building something called Village Green, which is like the central part of the community where there's, I think it's like over 1 million square feet of retail and commercial space that's going to be available. They've got their own H-E-B right smack in the middle. There's beautiful restaurants. There's high-end retailers. There's medical right there in the middle. If you're familiar at all with the Woodlands, this is going to be designed essentially after Market Street, which is a lifestyle place kind of like La Centera that we have in Katy. So mixed-use, beautiful development there. So that kicked off in 2024 and is really only going to get better. Now, the downside to Bridgeland that I hear from everyone who considers the neighborhood is that you have to have a tolerance for the tax rate. This neighborhood has been built out over 20 years in the oldest parts, and the tax rate, even in those oldest parts, are still at 3%. Now, in the newer parts, they're like 3.25%. But either way, you're not getting away from about a 3-ish% tax rate, and that can be heartburn for a lot of people. But I, for one, really appreciate Bridgeland for what it is. They have made a concerted and very massive effort in building around nature. So when you make it out there, it's not just like an open prairie full of homes. It's like homes hidden behind really lush trees and tall grasses and waterways. The folks that built Bridgeland are the same folks that did the Woodlands, and so that natural preserve focus makes sense to me. The next place that I would consider living in Cypress is going to be Cypress Creek Lakes, which butts right up against Bridgeland. Now, Cypress Creek Lakes is a much smaller community. It only has a couple thousand homes, but it's kind of like the less expensive cousin to Bridgeland. Now, it's zoned to Cy Ranch High School, and Cy Ranch High School is one of the 4 very desirable high schools within Cy Fair. And the homes are lovely. You have high-end builders in this neighborhood as well. Some key traits that are attractive in Cypress Creek Lakes is going to be the lower tax rate. So on the low side, you're going to have about 2.35 up to about 2.6% taxes, which is a huge relief compared to Bridgeland, which is directly next door. Another thing is that you're probably going to see your dollar go further on the exact type of house that you're buying. And the lot size that you can get in Cypress Creek Lakes is also going to be a smidge larger as well. So I would say the affordability is for sure better. The schools are still great. You just won't have the same use and enjoyment of all of the famous amenities of Bridgeland. Now, the third place that I might move if I were relocating to Cypress is going to be kind of a sleeper hit. It's not super flashy or on everyone's best of lists, but it's going to be Coles Crossing. Now, Coles Crossing is a neighborhood of 2,600 homes on the north side of 290. And when I personally think of Cypress, that's what I think of Cypress as. It's heavily wooded, beautiful trees. You've got lush gardens everywhere because that cypress wood watershed runs right through it. Now, Coles Crossing is fully out of the floodplain, so it's not a danger to you. But Coles Crossing has beautiful green spaces, and there's a lot of pride of ownership in the neighborhood. People that go there tend to like to stay. We don't see a whole terrible amount of turnover in that neighborhood. And it's zoned to really attractive schools within Cypher as well. So this one is going to be zoned as Cy Woods High School, which is, again, one of the 4 that people really quite like. What I love about it, too, is that the tax rate is particularly low. This one is right at about 2.18. So if you're looking to really maximize affordability, this is a great place. It's also directly on the 290 corridor. So if you need a hop, skip, and a jump to get into the 610 or Beltway 8 or downtown area, this is a really good place for you to be. Kind of one of the challenges of Bridgeland and Cypress Creek Lakes is that you've got to wind through all of the north-south roads in order for you to get to 290. And Coles Crossing is just literally like a hop and a jump onto that main artery for Houston. So if that's something that you're considering, values range kind of in the mid 3s all the way up to 900,000. And again, little jewel boxes all over that neighborhood. So let's talk about Fulshear. Fulshear is one of the most explosive growth areas in the entire United States, and there are a lot of great neighborhoods, obviously, which is why people are moving there. So if I were considering moving to Fulshear, one of the first places that I would really take a look at is going to be Cross Creek Ranch. Now, Cross Creek Ranch is on the eastmost side of Fulshear. It butts right up into Katy. 1463 is that north-south corridor that kind of acts as the border of Fulshear to Katy. Now, this is confusing for folks who don't know. A good chunk of Cross Creek Ranch, though in Fulshear, is actually Katy ISD territory, which is very counterintuitive. But a good chunk of that neighborhood is going to be zoned to Katy ISD. And then there's a corridor on the west side that separates and goes over into Lamar Consolidated ISD. Now, Cross Creek Ranch is functionally complete. There's little stragglers here and there that we're closing out on the Lamar Consolidated side. But it's pretty well done. It started in the 2007, 2008 era and built out all the way through 2025. This was done by Johnson Development. And so Johnson likes to do a lot of heavy focus on natural beauty. So they the Howard Hughes Corporation who did Bridgeland really built around nature. So a lot of nature preserves, high grass areas, really big trees that they left and built around, massive waterways that's really trying to support and maintain the lifestyle or the live animals that were there before the humans showed up. Now, Cross Creek Ranch is massive. It's 6,200 homes. There are 2 self-contained Katy ISD elementaries just directly inside the neighborhood where you could bicycle ride to and from school. And then they have a self-contained campus of a junior high and a high school on the same piece of land that's within the neighborhood as well. So that's going to be Adams Junior High, and that's going to be Jordan High School. Now, on the Lamar Consolidated side, there is 1 elementary school within the neighborhood as well. But the junior high and the high school are going to be further off if you're on the LCISD side. Cross Creek Ranch's tax rate has really gotten a lot better over the last couple of years. This used to be kind of the linchpin or the thorn in everyone's side for why this neighborhood didn't necessarily take off, is that it was expensive. And now we're looking at it being something closer to about 2.65% on the Katy ISD side and about 2.75% property taxes on the Lamar Consolidated side. So that is a major relief for a lot of folks. Now, if you want to live in Cross Creek Ranch, you are the person who really values kind of like Disney World for kids in your backyard. So it's going to be tons of parks, massive pools, swing sets, playgrounds, walking trails, dog park, catch and release fishing, fitness clubs, clubhouses, all of the amenities that you could ever want are literally right there. If you don't like that, I would say Cross Creek Ranch is probably not the place for you. Now, the next place that I would live in Fulshear, Texas is probably going to be what I think is the other crown jewel of this western corridor, which is going to be Weston Lakes. Now, Weston Lakes is a very old neighborhood, and it was on the furthest reaching westward edge of civilization, which now, of course, touches every other neighborhood in Fulshear. This has been developed over a 40-year period, and all of Weston Lakes sits behind a gate. The gate people are very committed to their jobs, and if you try to let anybody in, they take it very seriously, and they'll make you go to a sit-there parking lot until someone confirms that you can have access. Kind of goofy, but all jokes aside, the thing about Weston Lakes is that everyone had the opportunity to build on their own lot. So anything from a quarter acre up to 2 acres or so, you could build a custom home. Now, some folks don't like this. They say, I would prefer a more uniform or cohesive look to the neighborhood. But other people say this is great because you have individuality. You're able to express yourself, get the home that you wanted. But the taste level there is high. I wouldn't say there's anything ostentatious or crazy looking in the neighborhood. It really is quite lovely to see. Now, Weston Lakes is popular for a couple of reasons. There's a golf course that is private first to members. They've recently started to open it to the public. And then like the Brazos River kind of runs along or hugs the backside of the neighborhood. So there are some areas where you could have river facing property, which a lot of folks like. Now, if you don't like that, because a lot of that river facing property does get zoned into the floodplain, houses are out of the floodplain, but your yard is functionally in it. If you don't like that, you can live somewhere else within the neighborhood. But what I really like about the neighborhood is how quiet it is. If you wanted to have that big sky Texas experience where you can shut your door, walk outside and hear the birds and listen to the crickets and hear the wind blow through the trees and see the stars outside at night without all the light pollution, you get that in Weston Lakes. The other thing that folks really like is that the tax rate is reasonably low. You're going to be at about a 2%-ish tax rate. And the water in this neighborhood is privatized. So it is a mud. But I would say that even though your tax rate's low, a lot of residents will tell you that the water bills are very high. So if Weston Lakes is something that you're going to consider, I would say that is a thing to investigate on whatever house you're going to ultimately buy. Now, another oddity of Weston Lakes, but I think is kind of nice, is that they have mandatory membership in their social club. So if social clubs are not for you, then Weston Lakes is not your place. Now, the annual HOA dues in Weston Lakes are about $14.50-ish a year, but you also have to pay $100 a month in social club membership dues. So that means you're in it for about $2,650, $2,700 a year to be a part of the community. The social club does a lot of really nice stuff around holidays, Mother's Day, Father's Day. They do a lot of events, clubs, any interest groups that you have, but it doesn't come for free. Now, one of the last neighborhoods that I consider living in Fulshear is what I think kind of makes Fulshear famous, and this is going to be Fulbrook. Now, Fulbrook is different than Fulbrook on Fulshear Creek. That's its own beautiful neighborhood, and I quite like that one as well. Think of Fulbrook on Fulshear Creek as a cousin to Cross Creek Ranch without as many amenities as Cross Creek Ranch. Perfectly lovely, done with construction, functionally almost done. Functionally done with construction, zoned to the same schools, slightly less expensive than Cross Creek Ranch. But Fulbrook is totally different. Fulbrook is a little pocket neighborhood that was kind of built in two phases. The first phase has homes that are almost 20 years old, and they are all built on your own acre lots. So everyone's on a well and septic, right? So that means everyone's tax rate is significantly lower because you're not paying a municipal utility district. So 1.65-ish is your effective tax rate. Now, you have to take care of your well and you have to take care of your septic. But most people would say that live there, hey, that doesn't bother me. I'm good for it. In the front section of Fulbrook, you have all of these beautiful David Weekley homes that are like 2,600 to 3,000 square foot cupcakes. And David Weekley did them kind of in the style of, I would say, like a ranch style home. So you've got like a wide front. The garage is off to the side and you've got beautiful columns or pillars, right? It looks like quintessential Texas to me. And I think it's really charming that you could have, a huge frontage on the front of your property and still have massive amounts of green space behind you for outdoor play or for putting a pool in. Now, the backside of Fulshear is perhaps what Fulshear is kind of famous for, which is these huge country estate style homes, right? So you've got properties that go all the way up into the $5 million range in Fulbrook. And a lot of these homes are completely, fully, totally customized. There were 5 builders that were allowed to be back in that section. But what these 5 builders did is allow any one purchaser to truly do a custom home. Now, there were regulations on what the fronts of the homes could look like, but the insides are different. It's an Easter egg hunt when you're looking at real estate back there. Now, I say it goes all the way up into the several millions, but I would say most of these homes are going to be somewhere between like 1.2 up to about 2 million in and around this area. So if I could spend $2 million on a home, Fulbrook in the Fulshear area is really quite lovely. If you're considering a move to the West Houston area, make sure to check the description below. My phone number and email are listed, and I want to be able to connect with you. And if you found value in this video here today, make sure to click the link below and subscribe, because we put content like this out every single week. See you soon.